I knew I was invisible the day our VP of Finance dumped lukewarm hazelnut coffee across my keyboard, muttered my bad, and kept strolling like he hadn't just crippled a payroll module. That was a Tuesday. By Wednesday, a load balancing script I'd written during a 2016 blizzard in upstate New York kicked in automatically. Zero downtime, even during peak payroll distribution. The servers danced. The dashboard stayed green. Not a single urgent ticket hit the queue. No one said a word. But that's the point, right? I'm not here for applause. I'm here for uptime. I'm Evelyn Dorsey, 61 years old, senior systems admin at a mid-sized manufacturing firm outside Pittsburgh. Been here 18 years. They call it People Solutions now, not HR. But let's not kid ourselves, it's still duct tape panic and emails no one reads. And for nearly 2 decades, I've been the one holding the digital side together with custom scripts, workarounds, and more late-night log file reviews than I care to count. I've patched vendor integrations while eating leftover lasagna at my desk. I've fielded 2 a.m. Slack messages from interns who locked themselves out of their onboarding forms. And yes, the entire automated grievance escalation system. That was me. Designed it, secured it, even taught it how to root around incompetence. Did I get thanks? A plaque, hell, a mug, no. I got passed in the hallway like a coat rack with a pulse. But I kept going. Because there's a quiet satisfaction in watching a system purr, like a well-fed cat. In knowing the thing hums, because you wrote every function, scrubbed every loop, encrypted every endpoint like it carried national secrets. That kind of control, that's fuel. The silent kind. After year 12, I stopped expecting recognition. And that's when I got smart. I started backing up key modules on a fireproof drive I kept under the seat in my truck. Updated every Friday before lunch. Nothing flashy, just discipline born from experience. Because when you've seen an exec wipe 6 months of compliance files because he thought pseudo-RM was short for remove paper jam, you stop assuming the cavalry's coming. You prepare for disaster, like it's family. My systems didn't just work. They anticipated problems, healed themselves, rebooted from distributed failover points. I built them that way. Redundancy is elegance. Foresight is defense. And if anyone had bothered to ask how it all ran so clean, I might have told them. But they never did. So now, when the system pings me with a handshake error from a vendor gateway, and I solve it in 12 seconds flat from my tablet at home, I just smile. Because they don't need to know how close they came to collapse. They just need to know I'm still here. But they didn't ask. Never looked me in the eye. Just kept smiling in meetings and chirping out phrases like, "We're a family" here, right before slashing PTO and calling it a wellness alignment strategy. By the time the founder handed in his badge and went off to buy a sailboat, I could smell the shift in the air like burnt rubber on a gravel road. And I didn't panic. I just updated my offsite keys, synced the passive monitoring node I'd embedded in the system backend, and began the quietest countdown of my career. The first time I met Darren Ridge, our shiny new COO, he called me Deborah. Twice. Slapped my shoulder like we were frat brothers, reliving glory days. Then told the room, "This woman right here." Total glue. I smiled like I wasn't mentally wrapping Cat 6 cable around his overpriced wristwatch. Darren was a human LinkedIn post, buzzwords in slacks. Wore a Bluetooth headset he never answered, drank water from a steel bottle that said "Disrupt," and walked around with a whiteboard labeled Next Gen People Solutions 2.0. 2 weeks in, he hosted mandatory Friday culture huddles with stale donuts and one-sided pep talks about radical ownership and synergy optimization. Then came the real insult. He walked in with her, blonde, polished, not a wrinkle on her, 24, if she was lucky, with a resume fluffed like a hotel pillow. "This is Kinsey," Darren announced, arms wide like he'd invented nepotism. "She's gonna shadow Evelyn here. Learn from the best before her golden parachute kicks in." Golden parachute. I was 61, not gone. I wasn't coasting. I was still writing real-time escalation protocols that saved our network every time Darren forwarded a phishing scam, just in case it was real. Kinsey looked at me like I was a Roomba blocking her path. I'm super excited to absorb your process vibe, she chirped. I excused myself before I chucked a surge protector. Next morning, Darren stood in front of the whole department and said it. We're transitioning Evelyn into an advisory role. She's earned her rest. Kinsey's stepping into a lead position for next quarter's rollout. Applause. Polite. Empty. Not even Susan from payroll, who once cried in my cubicle over a crashed benefit server, made eye contact. Everyone loves new blood. Until the servers tank and no one knows where the logs are. That afternoon, I sent Darren a clean professional email, subject credential transfer protocol. I outlined the admin credential transition and attached the security policy, the one I'd written myself. No response. 3 days later, I checked the root logs. Still active. Still pinging from my terminal ID. Fine. Let them dance. I'd built the stage and the trapdoor underneath. Let Kinsey click her way through systems she didn't understand. Backed by a guy who once asked me if a cron job was that thing you get fined for on spring break. Darren couldn't configure a printer, but he sure could praise mediocrity in heels. Meanwhile, I had already started crafting my own transition plan, one that wouldn't be found in any HR handover document or onboarding slideshow. Could I have made her a binder? Sure. Color-coded tabs, cross-linked indexes, architecture maps that would impress a federal auditor. But after the 4th time Kinsey scrolled through Instagram during a live security audit, I figured I'd have better luck teaching a ficus to deploy Kubernetes. I'll figure it out, she chirped again, right after I told her not to run the init script without confirming the virtual mount points. She nodded like I just told her how to boil water, then dragged and dropped a config file into the wrong repository like she was playing Candy Crush with production. She never asked questions, never took notes. She clacked around the office in heels that echoed like a countdown clock and said things like, "I'm more of a vibes learner," while staring blankly into a blinking terminal, like it owed her money. Darren naturally thought she was cutting edge. "She's a big-picture thinker," he told the team, grinning with the confidence of a man who once called XML web math. "She doesn't get bogged down in the weeds." No, Darren. She's not in the weeds. She's about to light the whole damn forest on fire. When he held another team meeting, complete with fruit platters and a 38-slide "Welcome the New Era" PowerPoint, I sat in the back with my arms crossed, watching him work the room like a discount Tony Robbins. "Let's give a big round of applause for Kinsey." He beamed. "She's taking over Evelyn's responsibilities. This is what leadership looks like." Then he turned to me. "You've earned the right to coast Evelyn. Just let Kinsey shadow you the next couple of weeks past the torch." I smiled. The kind of smile you practice in the mirror when you're about to testify under oath. That night, I opened a blank document. Just one page. Title in bold, "What Not to Skip." And if you want to see what happens, when the person they cast aside becomes the one they can't function without, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. I'm not done telling this story. Not by a long shot. It didn't explain everything. Didn't need to. I listed the 5 absolute infrastructure checkpoints, the ones that if missed would take the entire system down like a collapsing tent. Right in the center, I added, "Ensure persistent storage mounts before proceeding." If unsure, wait. No syntax, no step-by-step, just that. If she didn't know what it meant, she had no business touching the launch script. I left it on her desk the next morning with a sticky note. "You got this." Later, she posted a picture of it on Instagram, captioned, "Wash hash boss babe vibes. Yes, Nosh, laptop nails." I nearly choked on my coffee. Grim resignation doesn't even begin to cover it. I'd built a cathedral, elegant, resilient, scalable, and handed the keys to a raccoon in designer heels who thought the server room was giving dungeon vibes. But cold calculation. That's what kept me warm. Because I hadn't just given Kinsey instructions. I'd given her a test. One with no answer key, no training wheels, and no second tries. And Kinsey. She was going to fail it loudly, publicly, and in full color. I packed my desk like a flag-folding ceremony after a long war. Precise, silent, intentional. No tears, no hugs, no awkward potluck or limp balloons from Office Depot. Just a quiet collection of artifacts, my chipped mug that read, World's Okayest Employee, a stress ball shaped like a server rack, a signed Dilbert comic. I kept purely for irony, one lipstick tube and a flash drive labeled only Toolkit. Outside my office, I heard Kinsey holding court like she just won The Apprentice. My first system launch is going to be iconic, she declared between mouthfuls of gluten-free cupcakes. Someone had piped Read Girl Boss mode onto the frosting. Darren stood nearby, glowing like a proud stage dad. He'd installed a Tesla engine in a lawnmower and expected it to win the Daytona 500. I said nothing, just opened one last console window. No fanfare, no drama, just a few keystrokes to toggle off the watchdog script I'd tucked into the system back in 2020. It was my invisible safety net, the script that had been silently patching errors, restoring permissions, and masking rookie mistakes for years. They never knew it was there. That's how you know it worked. Then I rerouted the endpoint tied to my master admin credential. Didn't delete it, just moved it. Quietly, like tucking a spare house key under the fourth brick on the left, the one nobody remembers you laid. To anyone looking, I was locked out, deactivated, retired, whatever sanitized label HR was running with. But beneath the hood, I still had root. Not for revenge, not yet, just insurance. And when you've watched a company turn blind faith into a business model, insurance isn't paranoia, it's preservation. As I zipped my bag shut, my laptop gave one last polite ding. Calendar reminder, launch day, T-7. Down the hallway, Kinsey was giving a tech talk to the finance team. It included a Canva deck, dancing GIFs, and one diagram so wrong it showed our data pipeline shaped like a cow, labeled Cloudy Cloud. She passed my door holding a pink cupcake like it was a mic drop. "Don't be a stranger, Evelyn," she chirped, like I was being wheeled into a retirement home. I smiled, said nothing. Words weren't necessary anymore. At 4:58 p.m., I dropped my badge in Darren's inbox. One sticky note, 3 words. Good luck Monday. Then I walked out. No applause, just anticipation. No cake, no send-off speech, no glass plaque engraved with the word legacy. Just a ghost stepping out of the machine quietly, deliberately leaving the door unlocked behind her. By Wednesday, I imagined the air in that office smelled like vanilla cupcakes and misplaced confidence. Kinsey was bouncing between pre-launch checkboxes like she was curating an Etsy storefront. Not preparing to deploy a full-scale enterprise system touching payroll compliance and vendor infrastructure across 3 states. The checklist I left her gift-wrapped in dry precision, blunt but essential, and marked with the line, "Do not skip any item. If unsure, stop." Last I saw, she had used it as a coaster for her lavender hydro flask. Integration tests, skimmed. Rollback plan, unopened. The database diff logs I flagged for catching silent failures in our financial sync module. She deleted those completely to declutter the workspace according to her Slack status. She even posted a boomerang of herself launch prepping with a caption that read, "Code Queen Energy Cup in hand. Pink ice chai," like she just debugged world hunger. Meanwhile, the QA team, God bless Mason, and the last 3 engineers who hadn't yet rage quit, did their best. Mason flagged anomalies in staging. A benefits portal link returned a 404. An auth token expired mid-session. One junior flagged the audit logs missing from the compliance sandbox. But Darren, he stood up in the daily scrum fruit platter in hand and chuckled. "Listen, folks, let's not get bogged down in legacy paranoia. We're moving forward. This is next-gen leadership." He actually said that. Legacy paranoia. Like clean code needed therapy. That afternoon, I sat in my kitchen sipping chamomile tea while pigeons outside battled over a Pop-Tart someone threw from a 3rd-story window. My phone buzzed. Zach R. 3:42 p.m. Hey, did she even test the storage mount Zach used to contract for us back in 2019 during that dreadful IRS audit? He built the persistent storage logic with me, line by line, weekend by weekend, while the tax auditors crawled through our infrastructure like termites through soft wood. If the mounts weren't set up correctly, the system wouldn't store any of the new data at all. And the worst part, it would look like it was working until the moment it wasn't. I didn't text him back right away. Instead, I opened the remote node I still had quietly operating in the background. Pulled up the system logs from a silent utility script I'd built years ago, mount.check.daemon.sh. It was designed to run automatically during every dry run. Confirm mount bindings. Throw an alert if skipped. No ping, no trigger. The script never ran, which meant she never tested the mounts. I set my tea down and stared at the screen, not with panic, not even with dread, just that low rising hum in your chest, the kind you feel when you hear distant thunder close enough to notice. But not here yet. Almost. So close. Kinsey was about to launch an unarmed shuttle into the sun, and the countdown was already humming. Friday morning, 9:00 a.m. Sharp, she strutted into the conference room like she'd cracked Y2K using a ring light and a Pinterest mood board. She wore a pantsuit that looked freshly unboxed and clicked through a PowerPoint titled Operation Elevate HR 2.0. Darren sat beside her, grinning like a stepdad watching his goldfish finally fetch a tennis ball. "We're all systems go for Monday," Kinsey announced, tapping the final slide like she was lighting a fuse. "We're ready to launch this baby into orbit," Darren clapped. Actually clapped. This, he said, is what transformation looks like, people. The CEO, who hadn't stepped foot in the building in over 6 months, chimed in on Slack with a thumbs-up emoji and a go team. Then for flair, because nothing says operational readiness like emoji chain theater. No mention of QA red flags. No acknowledgement of error logs, broken authentication, or the missing storage mount sanity checks. Just blind optimism and a presentation filter that made Kinsey's forehead glow like Vaseline glass under a black light. I watched it all from the comfort of my living room laptop, open tea in hand, lit only by the soft flicker of a terminal window. Their production sandbox was pinging. I routed the pings through a shadow node I had quietly spun up back in 2021 after Darren's predecessor had accidentally wiped the test server while trying to safely eject a USB drive. That night, I'd backed up the final passive token, the one tied to the encrypted vendor contract archive. Quiet, redundant, cloud-based. I encrypted it, packaged it, and uploaded it to a secure drive that now lived next to my passport and a pack of ginger mints in my carry-on. Just in case. By Saturday afternoon, Kinsey was posting mirror selfies in the office restroom. Caption pre-launch, glow, bummy boss, babe, and a system queen. Behind her, a whiteboard still scrawled with "Do not skip mount" in angry red marker. Irony is dead buried and now doing TikTok dances in platform heels. Then at exactly 4:16 p.m., my phone buzzed. PayPal notification, 1,000 USD from HR Backup Services, a protonmail.com. Message consulting window. Open, no name, no signature. Just the sterile scent of panic behind corporate deodorant. I didn't respond. Didn't cancel the payment either. I just sipped my tea-muted Slack and let them keep their weekend. Because Monday would speak for itself. And at 8:59 a.m., right on cue, Kinsey posed for a group selfie in the bullpen, holding her iced oat milk latte like it was the holy grail of operational confidence. She smiled. She glowed. And behind her, the system began to slip. Darren stood behind Kinsey with that vacant LinkedIn smile part, confidence part, oblivion, as he pointed at the Go Live button on her screen like he was unveiling the Ark of the Covenant. "Let's make history," Kinsey said, voice syrupy, with self-assurance, and not a single bite of real understanding. 9:01 a.m. Click. The room held its breath. Fans spun. CPUs flared like they were limbering up for a marathon. Then, nothing. No dashboard, no loading bar, no welcome message, just silence. Thick, uneasy silence cut only by the rising rhythm of keyboards being pounded in confusion. The main dashboard, blank. Vendor portal, 400 error, payroll unresponsive, compliance archive gone. By 9:05 a.m., the chief technology officer's assistant was shouting across the floor, voice cracking. 7 terabytes of core data just vanished. I know this because someone live tweeted it in real time under the hashtag #JustHROcalypse, all caps. Trending by noon. Backups were next. But every decryption key failed. Each recovery attempt coughed up a new error. File corrupted, checksum mismatch, credential denied. It was like the system had developed sudden onset amnesia, refusing to recognize its own identity. Like its birth certificate had been signed in invisible ink. Then, someone in accounting screamed, "We just paid vendors," using the test environment, and Slack lit up like a Christmas tree wired to a demolition charge. Meanwhile, I wasn't there. I was 212 miles away, in a roadside diner near the West Virginia border, boots kicked up in a cracked vinyl booth, sipping the best $3.49 black coffee you'll find outside Allegheny County. The waitress called me Han and refilled my mug without asking. Bon Jovi played on the radio. Outside, a hawk circled an empty Walmart parking lot, like even it was reevaluating its career choices. And in that moment, while my old office burned itself alive behind tempered glass, I felt it. Peace. Not revenge, not smugness, not triumph. Just that slow, velvety kind of peace that settles over you when the final puzzle piece finally snaps into place. The one you've held in your pocket for years, while everyone else insisted the picture looked fine. Then my phone buzzed. A familiar number. Straight to voicemail. Evelyn. "It's Kinsey." Her voice cracked. "Please, I don't know what I missed. Everything's just..." Then silence, followed by a gasp. Not the kind you post online. The kind you make when the walls are on fire and the fire extinguisher is locked in a cabinet you lost the key to. She was crying. Not performative tears. Not oops. I spilled my latte tears. The kind that only happen when you realize there's no one left in the building who knows how to fix what you just broke. I played the message twice. Then I saved it. And I took another sip of coffee, because Monday had finally arrived. I set my phone down, slid a bite of rye toast through my eggs, and almost under my breath said to no one in particular, "You missed the Mount Sweetheart." By noon, the office back in Pittsburgh looked less like a corporate headquarters and more like a Black Friday riot staged by frightened bureaucrats. Aaron from operations was pacing the hallway like a used car salesman who just realized the lemon he sold was leaking transmission fluid and the customer was the IRS. Every 5 minutes, someone new shouted, "Who has access to the master backup keys?" like it was Beetlejuice and saying it 3 times with some incompetence. The audit logs, what little survived, told a blunt and brutal story. Kinsey had skipped 3 of the 4 non-negotiable launch steps, including the one that was titled in bold, underlined font, "Ensure persistent storage mounts before proceeding." The 4th step? She didn't understand it, so she deleted it. Darren, ever the master of spin, did what he does best: blame people who weren't there to defend themselves. This was Evelyn's system, he told legal on a recorded Zoom call. If it failed, it's because of her legacy tech. Yes, he said that. Out loud. With a blueberry muffin in his hand. That defense lasted all of 44 minutes. Because legal does what legal does best. They followed the receipts. And my receipts? Oh, they were pristine. Every change tracked, every patch signed. Every protocol not just documented, but version-controlled, time-stamped, countersigned, and archived, including the PDF titled Transition Plan. Do not ignore this. Kinsey had opened it, scrolled through 5 seconds of hard-earned wisdom, and never touched it again. Finance froze all payrolls. It locked down the network behind a disaster response protocol I authored in 2017. Customer service turned into a digital ER for vendors, wondering why their invoices were returning null where numbers should have been. At 2:24 p.m., my inbox chimed. Subject: Urgent advisory, re-engagement body, hi Evelyn. We're hoping you'd be open to a short-term consulting re-engagement to assist in stabilizing the ATRIS system. Compensation will reflect your seniority. We value your unique system insight during this time. Unique system insight. That's what they were calling it now. I stared at the screen, let out a breath that tasted like closure, then opened a clean draft. No calls, no apologies. Just a terse email from legal stamped urgent in bold red letters, like it could outrun the mess they'd made. Credentials reinstated per advisory agreement. NDA effective immediately. Attached was a PDF so watermarked it practically trembled layers of digital ink tracking metadata and enough legal fine print to paper the lobby wall. I could almost hear them sweating behind it. I opened my terminal, typed 5 lines. Nothing flashy, just enough to mount the encrypted volume stored on my off-site node. The one I'd quietly maintained for years while everyone else played digital roulette. I restored all 7 terabytes of data, not into the live environment, mind you, into a secure mirrored shell. They didn't deserve blind trust, not after everything. Then I encrypted the entire recovery under a custom license. Expires in 14 days, non-renewable, non-transferable, no second chances. Let Mason and the few remaining QA engineers stabilize the rollout. Let Kinsey keep clicking through Canva slides. She tried to call again. I let it go to voicemail. Darren's apology came through legal, of course. Something about miscommunication and shared accountability. I could practically see him squirming through his polo shirt during the board review, praying his niece's glitter-soaked disaster didn't permanently stain his exit package. By Friday, internal memos read like military dispatches, emergency DevOps hiring approved, crisis budget tripled, legacy systems under urgent reassessment. Their idea of moving forward was throwing 3 guys named Brad at a codebase I wrote in my garage during flu season, while eating canned chili and fighting off a sinus infection. Meanwhile, I boarded a flight to Seattle, first class. I didn't need the champagne, but I took it anyway. That afternoon, I walked into the downtown office of a firm that had been quietly trying to poach me for the last 2 years. I didn't even have to introduce myself. They knew. They showed me a private corner office with a view of the Puget Sound. Introduced me to 2 engineers who brought not just questions, but pens. Not laptops, not egos. Real curiosity, real respect. A comp package that would make Darren weep into his stock options. I unpacked one thing from my bag, a small silver flash drive. Set it on my new desk. Not because I needed it, but because it reminded me what happens when you know your worth and guard it like sacred code. Being underestimated. It's a superpower if you learn to weaponize your silence. As I sipped coffee made by someone who didn't mistake oat milk for innovation, I allowed myself the smallest, sharpest smile. I didn't burn the place down. I just let the match sit where they poured the gasoline. Dear CEO's name, happy to assist under the following conditions: 600-hour advisory rate prepaid in 20-hour blocks. Full NDA with 0 liability for third-party misuse. Immediate restoration of admin credentials and root access. All system documentation to credit architecture to E. Dorsey, no substitutions, invoice attached. Because kindness is expensive. When legal reviewed my terms, someone accidentally CC'd me on their internal comment. Well, she didn't burn the place down, but she sure packed the matches. The wire hit my account Tuesday morning at 9:03 a.m., $7,200 per block, and that was just block 1. I'm not asking for applause. But if you've ever been underestimated, passed over, or treated like you were just a legacy asset while someone younger, louder, and clueless got your seat at the table, then I want to hear from you. Drop a comment. Tell me where they got it wrong. Or better yet, where you made it right in the long game. Because let's be honest, sometimes the best revenge is patience wrapped in professionalism. I didn't burn that place down. I didn't yell. I didn't throw a fit. I documented. I prepared. I waited. And when the moment came, I didn't show up angry. I showed up ready. That's the lesson I want you to take away. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be prepared. So if you're sitting there wondering if your quiet work matters, if your behind-the-scenes effort is worth anything in a world obsessed with hashtags and fast titles, let me be clear. It is. You are. Your experience. That's infrastructure. Your knowledge, that's insurance. And your silence, that's strategy. If you know how to wield it, if you believe in that kind of power, the kind that doesn't scream but still wins, then support this story. Like it. Share it. Tell someone younger that quiet doesn't mean weak. And leave me a comment. I read every single one. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Because I've got more stories like this. More fires lit by accident. More rebuilds led by the underestimated. And trust me, retirement is a lot more fun when you still hold the keys to the kingdom. Thanks for being here, Rebels.